So many mothers stuck there without self-confidence. The remote work can make balance harder, and what's bring the biggest sacrifice is time.
Welcome to the Busy Moms Get It Done podcast, where we encourage moms to follow their passions while being the best mom they can be. I am your host, Esther Shitu. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to ask you to do me a favor. If you like this type of content, please follow, like, or even subscribe. Leave a review about the type of content or even suggest a guest. Today's guest is Sumayiya Nanyonjo. She's a remote human resource consultant and the founder of Remote Mom Ventures. Before Remote Work Ventures, Sumayiya also founded MIA Human Resource Consulting Services. Before then, she worked as an HR consultant for 8 years. All right, thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast, Sumayiya.
Thank you too for having me.
So, if you were to think about your childhood, would you say motherhood is something you sought? What was your perception of motherhood as a child? Did you want to become a mom?
As a child, I didn't fully understand motherhood beyond what I saw. Like when it comes to the moms waking up early, making sure everyone was okay, and having to do a million things all at once. I thought moms were like superheroes, like always knowing what to do, but I never really sat down and said, I want to be a mom one day. It it was just something I assumed would happen, like growing taller or learning to cook. But I did love kids, but I didn't like assume I would be a mom when time came. Like sit down and imagine being a mom. Mm-mm.
That's that's interesting. I love how you said that it's like growing taller. Did you also think of your career though, right? Because I feel like that in my generation or the way I feel like I grew up, that as you're growing up, it was more like focus on your career, focus on your career. Everything else will come later. Was that the same experience for you?
Um, I didn't have this kind of childhood that I had one clear dream job. Because I did have scenarios in my life where I wanted to be a lawyer. I was a quiet child and I would think a lot and write a lot. So I was very quiet when it comes to my siblings and I was very bright. Yes, I still believe I am. Um, what do I think of my career? Well, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a lawyer. Like I did have that spirit in me that I could help be a voice of the voiceless. But as time went on, I realized there's so much corruption when it comes to that profession. So I got to drop it along the way before I joined college. And my love for humanity led me to doing a human resource course. And I just focused to that direction. So I didn't like think about, yes, I want to be a lawyer and had it fixed. Like I'll do it at college and I'll finish it and I'll start practicing. No, it kept on changing with whatever experiences I was going through. So mine was never a fixed one.
That's very interesting. I feel like that's kind of all our stories though, even though some people like they have the story of like they get this career path and then they keep going. I think
Mm,
all of us as we grew and as we evolve, we always think, oh, there's like different things that I can do, or you just end up changing somewhere or another, right? And
mm,
I think that's
I did say mine was about experiences and also how I got to working remotely is through experience. Like after the pandemic, I felt like I need to cross over and the fact that I did stick to human resource, which human resource is the people. I'm still serving the people, even though I'm working remotely.
what was your journey like into motherhood? Was it everything you thought it would be, or was it or well, obviously you didn't think of it much, but like when you entered it, were you shocked or not?
Um, think about motherhood now, but after I got married, like, of course, when you get married, the next thing to think about is giving birth. And here I was and my husband, we were not thinking about kids. We were just all about having fun. And then after 6 months, motherhood came with a mix of emotions. Like we are first time parents, both of us. the joy, the exhaustion, and there are a lot of no one prepared me for these moments. Well, I thought it would be about loving and raising a child, but I didn't fully grasp the sacrifices that the constant decision making, the weight of being responsible for another human being. It's indeed beautiful, but it stretches you in ways you never imagined. And the most important thing is that you get to grow with the journey, both parents.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that statement. It stretches you in ways you never imagined. I want to speak a
Um,
little bit about your remote work. Right? You mentioned, I believe, that you started it after the pandemic. You felt like you needed to switch. What caused that? How did you get it? What was the instance that made you make the connection that like remote work could be what mothers need?
thank you. One thing I have to emphasize is I didn't wake up and decide I want to work remotely. Like it's about the experience. Like I said, everything I'm doing it's through personal experience. Like life kind of pushed me into it at some point. I needed flexibility, work that could fit around the kind of experience I was experiencing at that moment. And when I get back to what pushed me into working remotely is I didn't mention that I had, okay, let me take you a little bit back about my journey. Well, I moved in with my husband. He is not in the country, like he doesn't work from our home country, so he works outside the country. So after my first baby, I was like, I need to join him and try and see if we can build from there where he's working from. And I went with this whole passion that immediately I join in, I must work. But then unexpected happened because I was on his permit as a spouse. So I had these restrictions when it comes to working. So I had to like quit and be like, okay, most of the roles that I'm applying for do require a work permit of which I can't get now. So let me just wait. And the other thing was the harsh weather that I couldn't keep up with, like waking up every day and trying to see where to go next. They all were kind of challenges at my side. So I had to wait for the weather to calm down, and immediately the weather could. I mean, let me rush this whole thing because it's huge. Um, as I was waiting for the weather to calm down, I did conceive, like I did like conceive for my second kid, and there I was saying, okay, now we have another challenge going on, so I'll wait after my baby is born. And before my baby could get here, the pandemic happened. So I was like, oh my God, is this going to be an ongoing story? Like it will never end. So what am I supposed to do next? And there I was thinking, okay, now if my baby comes and the pandemic is done, I'll just do what? I'll just work, like I'll get to work. I must work. And before we knew it, since my husband didn't take leave because the kind of industry he's in, he had to continue with work and he got in touch with the virus and the unexpected happened whereby the breadwinner fell very ill and I had to take care of him plus the toddlers. So there was being an irresponsible human. Like I couldn't fix where he couldn't fix. Like I became so comfortable to a point that I didn't see any reason to work, not until the pandemic happened. So we had some financial challenges whereby the government had to chip in and help us. And at times we had to ask home for assistance, things of the sort. So they did get to me and my mental health. And when time came, when we got the vaccinations, yes, I want to cut the story short. He was down like for 3 months, and there I was taking care of him. So my mental health was very much distorted because everyone calling in would be like, "How is your husband?" No one was asking, "How are you?" So it got to me that they're only looking out for me, for him, not me. So I had some mental health issues, and when the vaccinations came in and the airports were open, I was like, the first thing I need to do is to get back home. So we took the vaccines, and he took the one that had two intervals, like you wait for a certain period of time and get another. So us that took the first one, the J&J shot, we were just like good to go. So I was like, see you in the next few, because I just couldn't keep up. So when I came back home to Uganda, I had to go to rehab and fix my mental health. And as I was fixing my mental health, something came up, and I'm like, wait, all this while I've been okay. I didn't mention the part whereby I kept on being inside, like indoors, and I would be on my phone. So many times I would be on my phone, scrolling here, scrolling there, and I realized I had like something pop up called LinkedIn on my, those ads that keep popping up. LinkedIn popped up, and I'm like, okay, thank God. LinkedIn is here. I can now search for a job online without having to move out and leave my babies. Now they were already three babies at the moment. So I was like, okay, I'll just sit and apply for my LinkedIn, like having that mindset of joining LinkedIn to find jobs. A bad one. So when I logged in again, I had opened the account while I was at university, and I logged out, like opening an account and ghosting it. That's what I did. So I had to revise it, and there I was. It didn't make sense. So I was like, okay, let me open one in my names, because the other one had nicknames. And I tried to do some research, and as I was trying to look for opportunities, they were all foreign, like for the locals. So in my head, I was like, okay, even 19 has not worked for me. So let me just scroll. And as I kept on scrolling, I used to see people posting like on a daily, and most of them being Nigerians. So I was like, oh, okay, how do these guys do it? The fact that they're also Africans and they're making it, because they kept on posting how they're earning in dollars, and how they didn't have any degree, how they were school dropouts. Yeah, and in my head, I was like, here I am with a degree, and I can't even use LinkedIn to its full potential. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do? As time kept going, I did have many questions, and when the questions would pop up, I would write them somewhere, and guess what I would do? I would put it in the search engine. I'll be like, okay, how do I get to optimize my LinkedIn? The answers would come up. Like when you're using the internet, what people don't know is that all the answers are there. When you search the internet and you don't find what you want, there's also another option to it. So I kept on searching. When the questions pop up, I would search. And when the results I was getting were not satisfying enough, I would search again. So I was like, so how am I going to use LinkedIn to my advantage? And there I was seeing a lot of Nigerians like doing it, and I'm like, can't I like reach out to someone? Because my dad always told me, please reach out for help if you want to be like assisted. So I was like, okay, asking for help doesn't hurt. And I'm like reaching out to one of them, and I'm like, did you really mean what you said about earning in dollars while you're in Africa? And she was like, yeah. So the one good thing about Nigerians is on the platform, they do support each other. So immediately I would see this Nigerian in my feed, another would pop up. So I was like, how are these guys doing it? I realized they were doing it as a community, like they were building each other through community based, like I help you, Esther, to push your profile, and whoever is seeing Esther's profile gets to see me, things of the sort. So I was like, how do you guys even do it to do what you do? And she was like, okay, let me take you through. And when she took me through, the next thing I realized was I needed a coach. So when I tried to check out the pricing, it was not in my reach. And I was like, okay, whatever you want, you can always get it. And I was like, I need to solicit for this money and get this help because I was like, I need to get work. I need to get to work. Like, I need to fix this because my husband was still down and his mental health had also deteriorated. And we needed to keep going, like, when it comes to social life and everything, the kids need to have it going. So when I asked my dad for them, he helped me get it, and immediately I did um subscribe to this option, and she took me through LinkedIn optimizing, and after my LinkedIn optimizing, that's where the whole picture came through. Like, I don't need to create a profile and run away. Like, don't ghost. Like, many people think you just need to create a LinkedIn profile and leave. No, you need to keep it active. And by keeping it active, you're supposed to be sharing about what you do on a daily. And that's how you get to be seen. That's how you get to be visible. So in my head, I was like, oh my God, this is so much work. And I'm like, but what am I doing in my time? Nothing. So with time, the questions that I had did lead me to another. One thing led to another. And after optimizing my LinkedIn, I was like, so how am I going to still get these jobs? Because I was in rehab and everything. And then something came up like, can't I really work online while while wherever I am, whether in the rehab, whether at home or wherever I was. So when I searched about that, of course, the feed did take me somewhere else. Like, I had to see particular people working online or virtually. And I was like, okay, so these things work. And I'm like, so what am I going to do as a remote worker or online or virtually, whatever? Then I realized I had a profession that I liked because when it comes to Africa, most of the kids or students don't do what they want. They rather do what their parents wanted. But with me, it wasn't the same thing. I had to opt for something that I liked. So I was like, okay, it's time to do what I studied. So I was like, how do I apply HR into working remotely? And there I was trying to post about CV writing on a daily and posting about how to write a cover letter, how to include a subject line before you send in your application. Like, I kept on writing about CV this, CV that, CV this. Meanwhile, by that time, I had already not niche down. So I was doing some bits of HR, like posting about talent and acquisition. And by the end of the week, I would check which posts did have great engagement. So with time, I had to niche down according to whatever I was feeding my audience on. And it helped me to realize who my tribe was and what exactly my audience needed. So I dropped off the talent and acquisition with time and realized my target audience was the job seekers. The job seekers happened, I also had to find out which kind of job seekers am I targeting. Of course, it was people in my same experience, like the youth and the stay-at-home moms. That's why I got into um, dropping off to working remotely. And I didn't tell you when I started writing about CV writing, it went on for months. And in my third month, guess who reached out to me? It was a client from the United States. I was like shocked. A US citizen reaching out to me for CV writing services or resume writing services. It proved to me that I was becoming an expert because the more you speak about it, you become an expert in it. So he reached out to me with this whole confidence that I could write for him a CV, like I would revamp his CV. And there I was, I earned my first dollars from the States, and I was excited. I was like, okay, these things actually do work. So it kept on going on and on, like the services kept on adding on one by one. In March last year, as I was niching down, I realized I had two audiences, the youth and stay-at-home mothers. So in my head, I was like, who do I relate with the most? And it was the stay-at-homes, because after I broke through, I was like, okay, now that I've made it, I believe there are so many mothers stuck there without self-confidence, without any idea about going on after childbirth, after getting married. And I was like, okay, how am I going to keep on helping them? That's how I birthed Remote Mom Ventures, because I realized it's a platform whereby the moms wouldn't find time like stretching and finding time to meet up with me, because most of them cannot schedule meetings with me physically because of this and that. Like they are busy managing the home, they are busy taking care of their babies and that. So the most flexible option would be working remotely.
No, that's a powerful story. I wonder though, as you were speaking, because I saw your experience is that you obviously you saw the ad for LinkedIn. For the moms that you work with, how do they find LinkedIn, or how, because they're stay-at-home moms, so did they already have a LinkedIn and then you just popped up on their feed? And for you, I did you ever think about other platforms of reaching stay-at-home moms in that way?
Okay. Just to answer that question, first of all, when I tried to discover myself, I looked at LinkedIn first because it's a platform for professionals from all over the world. And when I'm busy helping the moms, I also tell them to consider what I did first. So do I consider other platforms? Yeah. After I felt LinkedIn was well optimized for me on my side, I had to like consider going to other platforms, and I've just transitioned to X and TikTok. Then when it comes to Instagram, I'm still trying to figure out a way, but I'm soon joining Instagram. And how do my clients find me, or how do I find them? I work on LinkedIn on a daily. Like most of my customers come from LinkedIn. Like you be there seated and an email or inbox comes from either Remote Mom Ventures or my direct from my profile. Like someone reaches out and they're like, I've been following you for a while and I believe this is the right time, like to say, yes, I'm ready. You know, when you're busy posting or you're talking about your experiences or posting about your content, there are those people that are visible and those that are not. And those that are not visible, they work in mysterious ways. Like they'll reach out when you least expect them. And they'll be like, oh, there's this post that caught my attention. And I was like, I must sign up for your sessions. And you're like, I've never seen you anywhere on my posts. Yet they're busy watching and they're waiting for that one spark. So I always tell the moms, even though you're not getting an engagement or reaction, please keep on posting, because you never know when is the right time for that client to sign up. So just keep on being consistent.
I wonder, for the moms, right? What is one of their biggest challenge as they start working with you, right? Is it like you mentioned that like nobody's listening to me or nobody's like engaging? Is it imposter syndrome? What is one of the biggest thing that keeps them or that makes them question if they should keep moving forward?
The biggest challenge I still believe it's when I started and till now, it's self-esteem. Like they find a hard time expressing themselves after giving birth. Like you're telling them to go and get a professional headshot, and there they are. I still have big cheeks. I still can't face the world. Then there are those with big career gaps. They're like, okay, when my colleagues or former colleagues see me, they're going to be like, now what is she saying? Things of the sort. So I found a solution to that. I got a community whereby like they get to interact with each other and share the same experiences and share how they got out of that. And the other thing is the fear of posting and ghosting, like posting and no one reacts on your post. I also got a solution for that. Like when a mom posts, they can always share the post in the community group so that these other moms get to support them. And what happens when they support them? Someone outside from the community does get to see, because of course they do have a wide reach. Like the kind of connections I have are not the same connections that Esther has, and not the same connections that Sylvia has. But when Sylvia sees my comment on Esther's post, they'll definitely check me out and probably see what I do. So the key word is to post meaningfully and strategically so that you gain traffic.
Now that you say that, I think that LinkedIn is the best place for that community because you get it on other places, but LinkedIn is really built for you to see someone commenting and then you go on that somebody's page and then it becomes like a cycle of like, I saw you, now I'm going to follow you. Whereas other platforms, you can see it, but you're not really engaged enough in order to be following them, right?
I would disagree because even on
Okay.
Instagram, if someone does comment strategically, of course I would be intrigued to check out on their profile. So how social media works is most of the platforms have different strategies of making it. So this approach might work on LinkedIn, but it may not work on Instagram.
Mm.
And what might work on Instagram may probably not work on TikTok. So it's about knowing what works and what doesn't.
For your moms that you help, with remote work, do you feel like remote work lead to a lack of balance, or how do you suggest moms try to balance it all? Because like you mentioned, especially the stay-at-home moms, they're very much like into running the households, taking care of the kids. So how do they?
Absolutely, remote work can make balance harder. And what brings about this is when you don't set boundaries. So I always have these sessions, like we do have sessions on personal branding, your online presence, um, how to start writing content. Like we usually have a lot to talk about. And there's where we get to learn how to set boundaries, where I advise the moms to have a setup, like a workspace setup. Then I also encourage them to schedule work hours and stick to them. Like when it's time for this, don't answer emails while feeding your child. Like it should be strictly about your baby. When it's time for work, no one should cross that boundary of you dropping the call and reaching out to the other person. So I make sure they're hard on their boundaries. When it's time for taking breaks, like just because you're home doesn't mean you should be working 24/7. Like you're supposed to take breaks, even if it's for 30 minutes and you get back. Then the other thing is that I always encourage them to ask for help. Like you don't have to do everything alone simply because of you're working remotely. You can always reach out to a mentor, you can always reach out to a colleague, you can always reach out to a friend to sit in for you when you're busy, things of the sort. So I always emphasize that issue of fixing their boundaries, like no one should cross that limit for them.
No, I agree with that. I think that's something that I struggle with as a remote worker. I struggle with the boundary because my kids are most of the time they're always with me at home, and so like I don't have the boundary because also my kids are very young, and so they don't they don't have boundary.
I think you do. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No
The
problem.
fact that we are having this podcast for an hour and so, and I've not seen anyone crossing or passing by,
Oh,
I
they're
believe
not
you have
here.
that.
They're not here.
Oh, you had to send them off.
Yeah, they're not here. They were here, they would be hopefully sleeping, but if they were not sleeping, they would be around me and I would not be able. I mean, I would have to like obviously set them aside and tell them to go away, but I think that sometimes it crosses because like I said, they're very young. My kids are 4, 2, almost 3 and almost 1. And so like they're too young to really know it. They've grown up watching me work remotely, but they're too young to really sometimes they just want their mom. So that's understandable. But that boundary can be I think the boundary for me is not really them. The boundary is like stopping work. Because I feel like you mentioned, there's that guilt of I'm working remotely, so I have to work 24/7. So that because I have my kids 24/7. So I kind of that's what I feel anyway. I don't know if
But it's
that's
okay to ask for help, just like you did wherever they are. I believe you did ask for help, like for someone to
yeah.
sit in for you, or you can always ask for help, or you can always seek other other like whatever that will make you flexible. Like, let's say you mentioned to our mom that I will be working, but my baby's around, and they're like, they shouldn't feel bad, but you should not do this when when you're trying to reach out to a client or a recruiter. Make
Hmm.
sure you ask for help and dismiss them off. But when you're working with a particular client that you usually see, let them know that my babies are around, and if that's okay with you, I'm going to be working with them. So it's always about the mutual consent and talking to your client, or asking them nicely if it's okay to work with your kids, and also mentioning that you are a mom. So yes, they should expect kids to be around.
That makes sense. What would you
Oh,
say, I guess, are the pressures or challenges that you face as a mom, or what is a common challenge many women face?
the biggest pressure, like I mentioned in the first question of being a mom as a child, like what were my thoughts about being a mother? I believe the biggest pressure of being a mom is being everything all at once. Society, especially the African one, expects moms to be perfect. They expect them to be loving, patient, always available, yet also ambitious, hardworking, and financially independent. Like this whole new generation expects you to be both, to be all. So the guilt of feeling like you're never doing enough is real, and I know so many women feel the same way.
I feel the same way. I have so many women. I agree. I think that I find it interesting though that you said that this new generation of like having to be financially independent as well as be a
Hmm.
mom. You don't think that was that happened with the previous generation?
I don't think so, because when I grew up, I only okay. My mom was a hard-working woman, but then the kind of setup that I saw was different from the one that they're having. Like it was always the man to provide, and they expect the mother to sit down and wait for stuff and all that. It's not the same case for this generation. Well, they do expect a 50-50, which in return turns out to be it turns out to be the opposite. Like a woman would work so much harder, and the man is so much relaxed to a point
Mm-hmm.
whereby the 50-50 is broken. So I believe when this generation, like them, when it comes to the other gender, they believe when a woman works, they should be financially independent, like they should be doing it like they are doing it. So it gets challenging with time. Whereas the other generation, it was optional for a woman to work. Like if they're working, it's just a supplement. But in this generation, it has to be like a must for a woman to work and be financially there.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting dynamic, and I like what you said about it's always a little bit different when we're doing 50/50, because as a working mom, you're working and then you're also taking care of the house and then you're also taking care of the kids and then you're taking care of everything. So it's like 100 50.
I know. I think 1,000.
I I agree. I agree. And we're getting ready to wrap up, but what sacrifices did you make with motherhood or your career or your career for both to exist? Or what sacrifices did you see other women making for their career to and motherhood to exist?
Mm, I think I had to let the whole idea of that I can do it all at once. I had to choose work that fit my life, even if it meant saying no to certain opportunities, whereby a client reaches out to me and I'm booked for the day and I'm like, no, I won't be able to work with you because I have a fixed schedule. Like, I see so many women doing the same, like quitting jobs they love, delaying career goals, or working late into the night just to keep up. The biggest sacrifice is time. You're always borrowing time for one thing to give to another.
No, that was really well said. Um, you're always borrowing time for one thing to give to another. And I feel like that's time is a currency that we don't really think of. We always think, oh, I'll have, I'll do it another time. But it is like a
Mm-hmm.
currency. If you use it as a currency like money, it's really interesting what you will be like, nope, I can't. If you budget your time, nope, like you budget your money, it will be like, I can't do this because that's just not in my time budget, which is very, very interesting. Um, I'm going to go to our final question right here, which is like, um, in what ways has motherhood inspired you to go harder in your work or career, and in what ways has work inspired you to go harder as a mother?
Mm. One thing I did realize is motherhood made me hungry for change. Like, I wanted more than survival. I did want fulfillment. Like I said, after my first baby, I had this in me that I should join my husband, and immediately I go there, I must work. So I did want fulfillment, both as a mother and as a professional. That's why I push so hard to help moms build careers that don't take them away from their families. Like, they're busy. When it comes to African setting, there are those moms that do get married and immediately they are married, they're like, their husbands tell them to stop working. So I don't want them to leave their marriages because of building their careers. So the fact that I started Remote Mom Ventures, and it's a platform that favors them even when they are home or even when they're still taking care of their families. I believe it's the best option. And in return, my work makes me a better mother. Like, it teaches me patience, resilience, and the importance of showing my kids that you don't have to follow the traditional path to be successful. Like, every time I help another mother find work that gives her freedom, I'm reminded why I do this. Like, for my kids, for myself, and for every mother who needs another way.
That is very well said. I think that we a lot of women, and part of the reason I wanted to start this podcast is because I felt like sometimes we're told it's the traditional way, right? You either have to work and give up your kids, or give up your work
Mm-hmm.
and focus on your kids. And I feel like there has to be quote unquote balance. Like you mentioned, you can't do it all, but we can't always like remove ourselves from our kids' life just to go and give them money, or just to have a career. We have to still, there has to be a healthy way to exist between the two. So I think being able to help work mothers still be with their families and work and give them the currency is such a noteworthy thing. And so I'm so grateful that you decided to come on this podcast. um, obviously people can find you on LinkedIn, but how do should they just get involved on LinkedIn, or you mentioned Instagram? Is there other platforms that you want them to um connect with you on and reach out to you on?
Um, they can always put my name in the search engine and everything will pop up.
Okay,
That's
sounds
the
good.
good thing about creating an online presence. They just have to put in my name and everything will pop up, like my contact details and everything.
Thank you so much, Miss Sumaya. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.